I've been wondering lately, what made this? So much better than this. Horror movies have been the underdogs of cinema for decades, usually snubbed at award ceremonies, often dismissed by critics as shallow and cheap, even ones that later reach cult status and are considered staples of not only the genre, but film in general. On the other hand, horror movies are some of the most successful in the business in terms of box office. A found footage movie can be produced on a fraction of the budget of popular blockbusters. The actors are more than often lesser known, or up-and-coming artists. Not even a full soundtrack is as necessary as for other genres, since silence, sound effects and noises play a big role in tension building. This is complemented by a loyal audience of movie nerds, friend groups looking for a scary movie on a Friday night, and people going on dates. But besides the single-digit IQ so-called critics bashing The Thing or Alien, horror movies' tainted reputation has a reason, and a good one. The fact that a formulaic, dumb horror movie can be made on a budget with a given likelihood of making a profit has spawned a ridiculous amount of bad movies, an infinite number of sequels, reboots, and spin-offs, filled with cliché characters, cheap jump scares, and underwhelming monsters, bringing the reputation of scary movies down. So today, I thought I'd take a look at 4 textbook scary scenes in movies and TV shows that prove horror can reach cinematic heights, with a good balance of cinematography, psychology, and pacing. Some iconic, some underrated, but all utterly terrifying scenes from movie history. And in the meantime, I dig deeper into what actually makes them scary, especially compared to contemporary horror slop, which side by side may give us a good understanding of a quality scare. Before the first classic example, I'd like to thank you all for 400 subscribers on this channel. It means a great deal, and be sure to press that sub button for more reviews, news, deep dives, and all things movies. Some of the scariest moments on the screen do not come from horror movies. Perhaps that is a reason in itself, as the fear or startle is unexpected. But that is not the case with David Lynch's infamous dinner scene from Mulholland Drive. Lynch movies are already hard to categorize, hence the term, but he is famous for being a master of tension building, unsettling atmosphere and imagery, and grotesque visuals. This scene has all of that, and more. We meet 2 unknown characters at a diner, while one of them recites a dream, or more precisely a nightmare, to his associate. We find out his nightmare involved this exact diner, this exact man, and essentially he describes the entirety of the scene for us, in advance. They were here, the second guy was standing at the counter.
Of all people, you're standing right over there.
But behind the establishment lurked something sinister. A face, I quote, he never wants to see again.
There's a man in back of this place. I hope that I never see that face ever outside of a dream.
On the surface, it may seem unintuitive to prepare a scare so much, but Lynch places perfectly timed, clever phrases and visuals to get under your skin.
It's the second one I've had, but they're both the same.
Already, we know this isn't just some dream, it's a recurring nightmare, and we all had those. The thought of reliving our nightmare in real life already makes us feel uneasy.
There's a man in back of this place. He's the one who's doing it.
We are introduced to the mystery man, but more importantly, he's the one who's doing it. Doing what? The sheer vague darkness of that sentence is perfectly dreamlike, isn't it? Is he the one making them scared, or is there more to it? What is he doing? And right after he's the one who's doing it, we are now subconsciously imagining what that face may look like. Perfect setup for tension. We now have a pretty good idea what is gonna go down. We follow the dreamer as he experiences déjà vu alongside the audience. When the second man walks to the counter just like he was described before, we feel how scared the dreamer is. We know how weird déjà vu can be, and we are now eagerly anticipating the man. The camera pans down, revealing the dreamer hasn't touched his food. But the next shot, there is no food at all on the table, and the cups are upside down as if no one sat there. Subtle hints adding to the fever dream-like surreal atmosphere of an otherwise simple scenario. And finally, very slowly, the camera approaches the back of the establishment, with Lynch's signature handheld POV shot, which coupled with the masterful tension building has you on the edge of your seat. And that tension explodes with the cult classic jump scare, a face from the man's nightmare. From this point on, as the movie uses similar POV shots throughout, the viewer will never feel safe. Beyond the metaphorical nature of the scene taking into account the messages and themes of Mulholland Drive, it imposes a sense of danger on the audience, ensuring tension, and brilliantly, it does so in a scene that could not be more telegraphed. It is spelled out what is going to happen, but the devil is in the details. The faces, the phrases, the odd shots, the out-of-nowhere scenario is what makes it work, and elevates the dinner scene to a profound piece of psychological horror. Compare that to modern horror flick, a lot of the same ingredients are there. The telegraphed jump scare, a scary face, the sound effect, handheld camera, but oftentimes commercial horror movies fall into the trap of overdoing it, to a point where the audience no longer feels in danger and becomes desensitized to the scares. The exact opposite effect of the dinner scene, which makes us feel unsafe. The monsters and ghost faces linger too much on the screen, until we realize it's just a guy in a suit or a CGI boogeyman. The homeless man is on the screen for just a second. We do not find out that, in fact, it was just an abandoned boy who grew up in the castle walls and is actually just a misunderstood tragedy. There is no lore, there is nothing to alleviate the tension, which is why it stays, and why copying seemingly identical elements of this scene over and over in different horror settings does not automatically guarantee the same result of pumping adrenaline and confusion. Number 2. Another famous example of a highly telegraphed but still effective scare is Signs, and the first shot showing an alien. A movie that takes its time, builds up tension and preconceived ideas, images in the viewer's head, as the aliens are not shown for a long time. So when the reporter announces that yes, we are going to see the alien now,
all initial opinions are this is genuine.
It will be disturbing.
What you're about to see may disturb you.
And more importantly, they are real, in a movie with quite realistic characters and a convincing news program. The weight of witnessing an alien encounter dooms on our subconscious. I would argue that as high of a point this scene is in Signs, it's exactly why the finale stumbles and kind of fails. Showing the monster too much in plain sight removes much of the mystery, and with that, the fear of the unknown. But besides that, the alien encounter scene is a good example of a well-done, telegraphed scare, similar to Mulholland Drive. But while the dinner scene sets up the scare in just a few minutes, Signs takes an hour, and leaves room for more traditional character development in the meantime, which is important for stakes. And that takes us to number 3, The Haunting of Bly Manor. Not every scary scene is about the fear of the unknown or the dark. The scare can be just as effective when properly executed, if you already know the ramifications of an act. In other words, the stakes are high, and we know that. This is brilliantly done by Mike Flanagan. He often uses the technique of showing something scary, then relieving the audience by explaining or revealing the unknown, and then placing established or beloved characters in situations where us, the audience, is well aware of the exact danger they are in, provoking excitement, empathy, and making us root and fear for our characters. It's a great way to overcome the initial drop of fear factor when an entity or monster is fully revealed, by shifting the subject of fear to a character. This way, the story doesn't have to over-rely on mystery and leaves room for character development, lore building, and much more. In The Haunting of Bly Manor, which there will be moderate spoilers for here, skip to this timecode if you haven't seen it, for number 4 on our list. There is a looming presence throughout the show, the faceless woman roaming the castle grounds. We hear her footsteps, we catch her from a distance, and we are in general aware that she is dangerous. All the ingredients for a classic mysterious, scary ghost. In a shocking scene, we meet the faceless woman for the first time. Well, I don't want to say face to face, but she comes out of nowhere, grabs a character, and straight up murders him within a minute. Game of Thrones style, but horror. But this is not the scene I want to highlight today. It is this one.
What's that, Miles?
It's okay, we gotta get out of here.
Where are we going?
I don't know, anywhere.
No, I don't like this game. I'm not leaving.
Flora!
And you can't make me.
Come on, we gotta go.
Miles, where are you?
You see, when we first meet the ghost, she is shocking and scary, but at least she kills a character who's very antagonistic. So the main takeaway from the scene isn't feeling sorry for him, it's what she is capable of exactly. We see how she looks, we know what she can do, and from this point on the stakes are high, And when the main character we grew to really root for at this point is suddenly choked out by her, in a scene where she is in panic, protecting a child that clearly has no clue of what's happening, tensions are rising, Flanagan is able to hit us with a great scare, excitement, and one of the best cliffhangers of recent years. I think Bly Manor is highly underrated, so I urge you to watch it if you like drama, plot twists, and vintage horror. Far different from the jump scares of Lynch and Shyamalan, and the emotional weights of Flanagan's spooks. Our next scene today is pure visceral terror. One of the most creative, memorable, and horrifying moments of modern horror, in a movie that seems to be almost forgotten, even though it came out in recent years, Annihilation. A surreal dive into a strange land of horror, where biology and the rules of nature are all scrambled up. We follow a group of women on an expedition in this land, and we are bombarded with grotesque, unnerving, and startling imagery throughout. But without a doubt the most impactful scene of the movie is the bear scene. Never mind people turning into mushrooms, flowers, and guys going mad cutting and disemboweling each other in found footage. It's just boys being boys. This mammal stole the movie for me. At this point in the story, our characters are in a pickle of a situation where one of them has been attacked by some monster and has been presumed dead. The rest are turning on each other. Things are out of control. When we hear the screams of a character whose bitter end we have just witnessed. This already builds tension and we start speculating what Lovecraftian monstrosity we are about to face next, and the scene is set up for this perfectly. Rarely in a movie do characters align so well with audience response, as it is natural to feel just like our tied-up terrified protagonist, and Natalie Portman is the audience here. She's frozen as a mutated bear creature walks in, with its skull showing, and when it opens its mouth, we hear the screams of its victim. I mean, how brutal is that, for someone to hear her companion's agonizing voice, which was likely her final moment? And what makes it worse is the fact how effective of a haunting trait it is. In a sick and twisted way, it makes sense from an evolutionary standpoint, and this movie deals a lot with evolution going wrong in extreme circumstances. The bear scene has no jump scares, no quick cuts, no monster hiding in the dark, no fear of the unknown. Everything is revealed slowly, clearly, and without filter. Coupled with the excellent performances, it takes the place of one of the most terrifying moments in movie history for me. And the last movie on my list would be a brand new one, and I have a whole separate video about the scene in question, which you can watch by clicking this link. The movie is called Late Night with the Devil, and the scene in question is a quick one with details and Easter eggs that are super easy to miss, but the closer you look at it, the scarier it gets. And finally, I'm curious what your scariest experience is with movies and TV shows. What scene got under your skin and why? Tell me in the comments below, I'm always looking for suggestions. Also, do you think modern horror is scarier? Or do you prefer classics like John Carpenter movies and Sam Raimi classics? Let me know. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more lists, news, movie reviews, in-depth analyses, all things movies. And see you soon.